I was born in Charleston, West Virginia, 1944. Well, my parents were entrepreneurs. They were in the wholesale meat business, and I worked there from the time I was 10 till I was 20 years old in the summer. If you remember Rocky, and if you think about what he was wearing in the freezer, that's what I wore all summer when I wasn't lifting weights getting ready for football season. So I hadn't planned on going to college. We didn't have the funds. I ended up as a pretty good football player, made All-American in high school. I actually selected Duke because of the education, and also when I looked at all the tuition costs, Duke was the most expensive school that I couldn't afford. So that's where I decided to go, and I wanted to play competitive football and wanted a good education. I ended up my senior year making 2 All-America teams. In fact, just able to graduate, be the first person in my family to get a college degree was real special. So I was just enjoying life, fat and happy, working, and then I got a letter from Uncle Sam, and it said greetings, and I knew better. So I ended up going in the military. I didn't really have a choice, but I did choose what I wanted to do, and I wanted to fly, and I wanted to be an officer, so I went that way. At the end of my tour, I ended up with a Distinguished Flying Cross, and when I got out of the service, I didn't know what to do. And I coached at Duke for 2 years. Right after, I ended up getting an MBA. I ended up going in the oil business. I decided to get on the banking side, and I ran the Prudential Energy Investment Group. I ended up leaving there amassing a $4.3 billion portfolio. Took a job with Bankers Trust here in Houston. That's where I got to Houston, and I ran a fourth of the country for Bankers Trust. During that period, started serving on boards, and I've been on public boards almost consecutively since 1984. I ended up as chairman of Wilbros Group, which is an international energy contractor, and became CEO of Wilbros this past fall. My family, we were close growing up. The love of my life is my wife, Darlene, and we've been married 16 years. I understand now what it means to have a great relationship. And we're close with my children. I have a daughter, I have a son who went to SMU, and I spend a lot of time either on the phone or in person with all 4 of my grandkids. Yeah, being a granddad is a very good thing. My time at University of Houston actually started when I got a phone call one day from Eloise, and Eloise introduced me to President Couture, and we talked about forming a board of visitors, which would be different than the Board of Regents. Have a different mission, different scope in many, many ways, but the same quality type people. And then along the way, they asked me to chair it. So after having what I would call a reasonable business career, and I decided to give back. And Darlene and I formed a foundation, and we work with at-risk kids and rural kids, and we do that in Central Texas here in Houston. If we could catch kids early enough and use education as the wedge to get kids into society and into useful, productive lives. And I think giving is the closest thing you can get to your heart. I'm very proud to be a part of our college. I never had a degree from the University of Houston. I feel like it's my school. I'm going to keep reaching out and giving back as long as I can.